All right, just going to continue with this discussion about Doomsday, end times, and the Mandela effect. Or Mandela effect's profits in the end. Whatever. This is a part two to this discussion, and the reason is it just kind of popped up today. I was going through my old playlist, and this was streamed like over 5 years ago. This is in my old Watch Later playlist, which needs purging. But I came across this one by Marfugal TV, 482 Days, Unknown Countdown, Countrywide 10/2018. So from October 20th, 18, 482 days into the future was an unknown countdown. And I'll leave the link for this if you want to listen to the whole thing. It's pretty old. And he's talking about how all kinds of sources, everybody out there is saying that something about, 482 days in the future is going to happen. And they're thinking in the line of like doomsday scenarios and preppers saying, get out of town no matter, whatever you need to do, buy land in the country and go off grid now, because what's coming is not going to be good, and you don't want to live in the city. All that stuff, right? So I'm listening to this, and I was like, okay, let's put it into the calculator and find out exactly what 482 days into the future actually is. And I should clarify to say I am not a researcher. I just let reality present itself to me, and if it takes minimal to no effort, I'll take 2 seconds to type in a calendar and see, what the dates are for these things. It's not a big deal. But it just so happens that from that date, 482 days into the future lands on February 13th, 2020. February 13th, 2020 was the 44th day of the year, 220 or 2020 in the Gregorian calendar. There were 322 days remaining until the end of the year. The day of the week was Thursday. Now, there's all kinds of interesting symbolic number coincidences with that. And it just so happened that 2 days prior was the official announcement and naming of, let's see if I can do this without getting a bot after me, the C the V 19er. That was its official naming worldwide, was 2 days before that Thursday. So I don't, on that Thursday, I didn't see anything more than a bunch of articles related to C the V, but I think it's remarkable that it's that week that all of that happened, and this old video from over 5 years ago was saying that. It's just one of those interesting synchronicities. And if you're not aware, if you haven't heard this, I doubt anybody that listens to me hasn't heard this already, but there is a Mandela effect theory. And the theory is that these changes in reality that we're seeing, the little hiccups and glitches and all the little oddities, are the result of like byproducts, because our timeline in this matrix holographic simulation, whatever it is, gets edited. Like somebody makes a change. So originally we were on one path and we were heading towards an event that would like crash the server. So they modify it to make maybe a lesser event, and that causes side effects. So one theory would be that there was a very global, devastating event happening in 2020, and the world was modified to have a lesser event, but still very impactful globally. That's just a theory, but many of us have said, I think I've died and come back into this new reality. It's not a uncommon saying, and the idea that there's these glitches as left behind, people recognizing there's glitches and anomalies as the result of that. So just for awareness sake, I'm not saying that's how it is, but just for awareness sake, I think you need to be aware that that is something that is put out there. I just found it amazingly synchronistic that Marfugel here was calling out a significant event that did happen roughly 480 days after he announced this. Now we tend to talk about Mandela effects being, major things that everybody sees, but I keep seeing personal effects. And in the last video that I took down, not the last, but the video before the last, this one here, which I deleted, it was talking about a trash can that changed from one day to the next. I had seen this trash can in a triangle shape that was designed for corners. That trash can in this format and design, and you can do a search yourself and see if I'm correct, this format of trash can, this design, and I've seen it for sale by Office Depot, Quill, and I want to say who else? Uline. They sell this style. It only comes in these three shapes. There is no corner. Now, I without a doubt saw the corner design. I cannot find it manufactured or sold anywhere online. I've looked several times. So the day after this happened, that triangle shape disappeared and this oval shape was in its place, and it was stuffed up in the corner in a very odd way, which somebody pointed out, this makes no sense. If you put it that way, people are going to be throwing their trash at it and it's going to land behind it on the floor all day long. That's true. And I will say, they've changed the positioning since I did that video. They're now putting it flat against the wall. So somebody must have had an issue with that and changed it as well. So just a very interesting side note. And if you go around this room, they're all over the place. There might be 8 of these down there. It's a large area, and that they all ended up like this. Another glitch in reality that happened a day or two after the trash cans there is this word, this archetypical. So this gets. I'm listening to these people that were talking about Carl Jung, however you want to pronounce it. Carl Jung, they were saying, Jungian experts. They were psychologists that just loved Carl Jung, and they were using the word archetypical, not archetypical. They weren't saying archetypical. They were saying archetypical, or archetypical, or archetypal, or archetype. They were using it as 2 syllables, not 3. The reason this is significant to me is maybe 4 years ago I noticed that the word officially is spelt this way, archetypical, or archetypal in this version. So I think archetypal is the official in this reality way to say it, but people say archetypical and archetype, and it's based on the root, that architect, that structure. It's based on that structure and design theme. So of course architect is most commonly thought of, and that's where you would kind of relate this to. And technically it is archetypal, but I lived in a reality, and I know this because when I was in college studying to be a pastor, and I was teaching, I was a tutor, and I was teaching people literary devices, and something called literary criticism when approaching the Bible is I would teach the archetype scene or archetypical scene that you find in the Bible many times. And at that time, it was a word. I'm certain it was spelled archetype. It was pronounced archetype. The whole archetype is so weird to me. And when I saw it like 4 years ago and looked it up, I was like, no, that's changed. And it makes sense that you would eliminate that center syllable just for efficiency and to say it more quickly. And people do that all the time with words. They modify how they're pronounced and spelled in language it's an evolution of language, because there's no point in saying all that. There's no other thing close to it. Nobody's mistaking it for anything else. So archetype makes sense. Anyway, the reason I'm saying this is a reality shift is I was looking up this word and I found this definition, this official definition for archetype. And when I went to save it, and I was going to do a video eventually, it changed on me to this. But it was archetypical, and it changed to that. So and here's a poem, interesting, and this is interesting. There's a poem by John Kipling Lewis, and I wanted to dig into his life a little more. But it's so funny because in his poem, it says archetypical. That's the title of his poem, archetypical. I am not. Like this is a real word. And he says, I know no one like me, no one to share my experiences, truly understand my thoughts. Boy, does this not sound like a Mandela affected person? The people around me feel paper thin and translucent, a commonality. They are archetypes, and I am unalike. So he labels it archetypical, but then goes to archetype at the end. It's kind of a hybrid there, but the archetypical is not a word, I guess. So, but when I went to find the definition, it changed to this on me while I was doing it. So I was like, oh, I need to mention that this archetypical changed on me. This is the one that changed right here. It was archetypical, and it changed to archetypical. Whatever, the whole point this leads to is when I was teaching about the Bible and literary criticism to students who were Bible majors, I would say I would be talking about how the Bible is rich and full of literary techniques and devices to give a deeper meaning to the story. Everybody approaches the Bible typically, archetypical. The approach to the Bible is that it is a history book of fact. The Bible doesn't make the claim that you're supposed to read, and it's not one book. It's a library of books spread out over great periods of time by many different people, many different cultures. It is not given to you to say, hey, you should read this as a linear timeline of events and statistically accurate in every way. It doesn't make that claim. The claim it makes is that it's God-breathed or God-inspired, that there's inspired concepts in it. Whether or not the events took place literally isn't the point. It doesn't make the claim that you're supposed to read it that way either. It doesn't. It just says that it's inspired. These are ideas that are inspired. An archetype scene, which gives more richness to the story, is like there are all kinds of setups in the Bible where the reader of that time would immediately catch the inside joke or the inside knowledge of what this is alluding to. And I could give you examples, but it would take too long, that are in the Bible. Just the most common one that we are familiar with our modern day entertainment is when we watch a Western in the movies or on TV. The good guys go into a bar, or the good guy goes into a bar. You're expecting a bar fight. That is an archetype, or now archetype scene, where you already know before the event occurs, this is the setup scene for a bar fight. And with that are common themes like somebody gets a bottle busted over their head. The good guy often wears white and the bad guy black, but sometimes they flip that around to be cute. The good guy, the hero, often has some ability, like he's a sharpshooter, he's great with a gun, he's fast and he's accurate. These are archetypes, and the Bible has lots of these in them to give more meaning and richness to the story. Did the story have to be true? Isn't the point. The point is there's a message there. And when I say the Bible is inspired and there's concepts that are giving truths, deeper truths, that archetype ties into that message and giving you the deeper truth. Now, there are things in the Bible, and we like to throw the word around that it's inerrant, but that word is really subject to many different meanings based on the people you ask. I might give some links down below if you want to watch them that give more of a like a seminary approach to the Bible. I'll have to find, because you don't get any of this at the pulpit. Evangelical pastors never talk about this stuff. They don't talk about the stuff we were taught in Bible college and things like that. I actually got upset a few times saying, why has nobody ever said this in church? Why am I just now learning about these things and that they exist? But anyway, moving on. I'll give you some links, but the point is there's a richness and fullness to the Bible that if you can open your eyes to seeing the literary devices, it adds meaning, a richer meaning, and little differences like scribal errors or contradictions or numbers or things like that, it doesn't bother you so much because you realize you're reading it for the main idea and the inspired concept. Now, there are concepts in the Bible that are not from God. They're completely from man. They're completely cultural. I don't know how anyone can disagree with that. I don't know how anybody can say that there are things in the Bible, elements to the Bible, that are not right. And then to give you a perfectly clean example, any person in their right mind does not agree with the practice of stoning people caught in adultery. I mean, if you do, I think you're crazy. I'm going to say you're crazy. We don't do that, but that was a custom back then. And it was perfectly acceptable to grab somebody out to the street and everybody get together and throw rocks at them until they die for something that they did that was blasphemous. There's more than just adultery, but I think adultery was one of the most commonly cited. There's also no problem. The Bible condones, both Old and New Testament, it condones slavery. I don't know any right-minded person now that condones slavery, but the Bible and God apparently condoned slavery. These are ideas that we say are not, they're not true, they're not correct, and they were culturally and they were wrong. But there's still truth in these stories in the Bible, and if you can look at it for the literary devices, you can find great truth and great meaning. But almost nobody does it that way. Everybody just goes to extremism. They go to this world is coming to an end, the apocalypse, everything's coming to an end. And when the end comes, like the 482-day video, the end didn't mean the end of the world. It just meant, things got pretty bad. I mean, at that period, I was talking about getting off grid more than anybody. I wanted to get some land. Had anybody followed this guy's advice in this video, where's the video? If anybody had followed his advice and gone out and bought land in the country and started setting up to be off grid, that land probably went up 4 times in value since then. It would have been a great investment. So who's to say? So anyway, I thought the whole archetype change that I saw happen in front of me was interesting. I wanted to make note. My daughter, who's not really big in the Mandela effect or anything like that, she called me and said this week, I have to tell you, I saw something that I'm still trying to wrap my mind around, but it goes right along with your saying that this world isn't real. It's like it's a hologram or a simulation, because what I just saw, I can't explain. I said, well, tell me what you just saw. She said, I'm driving by this patch of cows that's near my house. It's not a fast road. I'm driving slow. I slow down even more to get a good look, and all of the cows are frozen while in motion, meaning their leg is up in the air like they're walking, and the leg's still in the air, hanging in the air, frozen. The tail that's swinging is up in the air, still in swing motion, but it's frozen. Everything with the cows was still and frozen, yet the trees in the background are blowing, the wind's blowing, there's movement everywhere except that little patch of cows that are just frozen, like some sort of glitch. And she said, she still can't get her mind around it. And she said, somebody was behind her and she should have looked closer, but the brain fog at the moment when you're in shock, I totally get that. I've experienced things where I go think to myself, why didn't I do more? But you're almost in like your own little self-denial, like this can't be happening right in front of me right now. But she said it completely happened. So that occurred. And then just out of the blue, I need to do a video again. I found this just coming. The Chevy logo is supposed to be squared up in the middle, and I say it used to be slanted. This is kind of an in between. It's not fully squared up in the middle, but it's not really slanted like it used to be. It's kind of in between. But somebody was selling this decal on eBay, and I thought that was funny. I was like, that definitely has a little bit of a slant in the center. It's not perfectly squared, and I hate that they put it at an angle like that. But if you were to square that out, you'd see that square in the center is not truly square, which is not the I don't know. This is a big one for me because I know that it used to be slanted all the way through, and it's squared up. And I'm not referring to the Corvette flag logo, because the flag logo is intentionally slanted to show the movement of the flag waving in the wind. So that's not it. I'm saying that every Chevy had a very slanted all the way through logo. I clearly remember that, and for it to be squared up and nobody to say anything is crazy. Anyway, I just saw that and I thought that was interesting. That little thing in the center definitely is not a perfect square, but it's not slanted the way it used to be. So that's I guess that's about it. If I can't. Okay, I guess I can end it on that note. But I wanted to show you that this is the whole reason I'm recording this. Is I got like a few minutes free, and I wanted to share with you that I thought this was interesting, and maybe put some links. And hope you're having a good day. And I hope you don't hate me too much for things I've said, because why do I care? I don't know. That's just people care. Whatever. Y'all have a great one. God bless.